Amen. What's up, Blueprint family? Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have a great topic for you all to discuss, and the topic is about rejected by your spouse. Do this as soon as possible, ASAP. So let's go ahead and dive into it.
Yeah, inspired by a great question that was actually a Reddit post that we came across, but it was quickly taken down. But luckily, we got it and can answer what to do in the situation because I think it's a very common situation in relationships. It happens in life in general, right? Rejection just happens. So, in particular, we're talking about sexual rejection. So, let's dig on in. I'm going to pull up the question as we go on into this. Let me see. Kind of to set the stage. All right. Subject: rejected by my husband. My husband and I have been together for 8 years, married for 4. Recently, we've been having some issues with connectivity. He works a lot, so we don't have a lot of time for us. We spoke about it recently and discussed some ways we can improve our relationship. One item he brought up was our sex life. He said he would love it if I were more spontaneous, initiating sex in fun new ways he wasn't expecting. So yesterday I did. I came in while he was playing PlayStation with a friend and tried to initiate in a very vulnerable way. He told me that he just finished the game and then come in our room. He asked me not to stay because he felt awkward with me there in the state I was with his friend on the other end of the headset. So I left. I waited 15 minutes in our room and he didn't come, and I got fed up and went to shower. We got into an argument over it. He said he couldn't just quit his game in the middle of it and disappoint his friend, and that he came in as quickly as was possible. To me, it was a turnoff because I was doing what he asked. And it's not just that he didn't get off his game, he asked me to leave, and then he kept me waiting for 15 minutes. He only came off the game and had to talk about it when he knew I was mad because he heard the shower running. It's left me feeling rejected and honestly sick of trying. I feel like he always prioritizes other things and people over me because he knows I'll wait around for him. I'm unsure if I'm valid in the way I feel. What do you think?
Well, I think that one thing that they need to do is to establish intimacy first of all in their relationship. Okay, the spontaneous stuff is cool, whatever the case may be, but I think overall what you all need to do is spend some quality time together.
The specifics, I guess, of what intimacy means.
And they need to practice those things. I know he may have said that spontaneity or spontaneous situations of what he wants, but timing is everything, of course. Throw all of that stuff out the window of what just happened. Just do something that is practical, to be honest with you. Schedule a time to actually go out together, enjoy the whole day long, do spontaneous stuff throughout that day. And for him, he needs to put those controllers down. So I think that will best serve their situation. And then also too, they both will get what they want out of it, their level of intimacy, the privacy and connection that they can get again. And for him, the sex and spontaneous sex that he wants, that is something that they just have to do. Be aware that when you grow older in a relationship and you start doing something else that's more time consuming, you start doing other things, whether you have children that consume most of your time during your day, you don't have much time for your spouse at all. So I understand that if he's working all day, there's, he wants to have his downtime and things that he enjoyed to do as well. And he may not always want to have sex. So timing is everything dealing with that situation. You would like for him to put his controller down, of course, and spend time with his wife. I get that. I thoroughly do. And then the thing is just all of this is just bad timing for her to be spontaneous and for him to not want to be entertained by his wife. All of that is just bad timing. That's what it is. Neither of them should be upset. She shouldn't get upset with him or feel rejected in this situation. And I understand her frustrations, but there's better ways to handle this. And understand that there's no harm, no foul, and she shouldn't feel ashamed in any way at all. And I know that she's doing only what he asks. But then again, timing is everything. You don't do certain things when you're, um, you know, cooking on the stove. You don't do certain things when you're watching something that you really want to watch, or using the bathroom or restroom or whatever the case may be. Like I said, timing is everything. So he could have easily just, like I said, cut the controller off, but I would have suggested him to have done that. And I understand that, he's playing with his friends, so that may have been kind of rude if he was to get off the game. But
especially if it's one of those games where you can't like stop right in the moment. I think it was just you, because you like games like Call of Duty where you're actively in a mission or something, and it's just, it's kind of rude for you to just stop. You got a team or whatever.
I mean, yeah, and then not only that, also you lose your rank when you do stuff like that. When you quit the game, you lose rank, you lose scores and points and stuff like that. But that's not everything. I get it. Spending time with your loved one, your wife, or anybody is actually more important than playing video games. But for him as well, if he's been at work all day, I get it. He just wants some time to not have to talk to anybody or engage with anyone.
Yeah.
So I get that. But like I said, pick a date night once a week, do some things like that. And then that will help to alleviate his situation for both of them. What do you think?
I think you really covered a lot of it, but to more so for the general audience, for all other people who may, click onto this video from experiencing the same thing, I do want to just give some awareness of kind of both sides of what a spouse could be feeling, right? So when a spouse in general is rejected by their spouse, they do feel a range of emotions, and especially negative emotions, because being rejected by someone you love can be incredibly painful, and it can feel like a personal attack on your self-esteem, your self-worth, your desirability. All of that can really damage how you feel about yourself. So that's totally normal. Also, rejection can lead to feelings of loneliness, isolation, and despair. So you may feel like, your spouse just doesn't love you or want to be with you anymore. And, I understand her going through these emotions. And this is also something that I feel men go through, especially when wanting to initiate sex with their woman. So this isn't a gender thing. It's common. It happens to all people. We all experience rejection sometimes. It's normal to feel angry at your spouse, maybe for rejecting you. Either way, you may feel like they're taking you for granted or not appreciating you enough for, even in her case, stepping up to, be spontaneous and whatnot. So that's important. I do like to make sure to validate a person's feelings so that they are aware and the other spouse is aware of what your spouse could be going through. That way it helps leading to, problem solving and stuff like that, because it offers a layer of empathy and understanding. Rejection, of course, can also make you doubt your own attractiveness. So you may start to wonder if you're good enough for your spouse, or if they're, rejecting you because maybe you gain a little weight, or, they don't like what you have on, whatever it is. Rejection can bring up a range of emotions. And lastly, of course, if you're repeatedly rejected by your spouse, which is something to keep in mind for both spouses, you may start to feel resentful towards each other. And this can certainly damage a relationship and make it difficult to connect and trust with each other. So I just think that is important to acknowledge, because firstly, this is what that woman has to do. She really has to acknowledge your feelings, whether it's hurt, sadness, insecurity, resentment, whatever it is. Don't just try to bottle it up and pretend that you're not upset. And certainly don't just go blow up on your spouse because you're upset. It doesn't offer that opportunity to do that. But it is very important that you acknowledge the feelings that you're having so that you're able to process them. I think our society goes through a thing where we just push things aside or don't want to address things or talk about things and just wish it away or hope that it just goes away. But that's not really how you move on from emotions. So that's certainly one thing that this lady has to remember, and give yourself time, right? You want to take the time to heal from that rejection. Man or woman, if your spouse rejects you, you may need to be patient with yourself and allow yourself to feel those emotions, and, don't expect that maybe even not the next day that you automatically feel better. Just, taking the time to process and heal. I think that's a good thing.
How long have they been? Are they married?
Yeah, she said they were married for 8 years. No, I'm sorry. They've been together for 8 years, married for 4. So this is very common because when is it's nighttime, but usually when you're thinking about what is it, is it 8-year mark where you start to have the usual crisis
6 years,
situation? Oh, 6 years.
6 to 8 years. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're coming into maybe a crisis period. Certainly, if you have things like, working a lot, and like this lady mentioned, you just don't have time for each other. So that certainly puts an added layer of stress. But it's great that you all have already spoken about some things that you can improve the relationship. But I think it's just, important that she keeps in mind that everyone experiences rejection at some point, and it doesn't mean that your spouse doesn't love you, and it certainly doesn't mean that they don't want to be with you, although the feelings of rejection can certainly make you think that is the case. So I just think that's one thing to really keep in mind.
Yeah, and rejection can be an opportunity for growth as well.
Yeah.
So you both can actually learn about each other, your needs and your desires, and then you all can use those, build on those, and strengthen that, and also strengthen your relationship to improve your sex life.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to actually get into some ways to where you can use rejection as an opportunity for growth and communication. We love to turn around a negative situation on this channel, so this is certainly a great opportunity for anyone going through this to recognize where growth and added communication can come in too.
Yep. So initiating intimacy shows your spouse that you love and desire them. So even if your rejection, if you're being rejected at times, it's important to keep trying. So this shows your spouse that you're committed to your relationship and that you're interested in their sexual pleasure.
Yeah. And, that's one of the main things that, she pointed out when she says, and honestly, sick of trying, I don't know how many times you've tried this, but it sounds like you just tried once. So certainly don't get discouraged off of trying, something new, like initiating sex, and getting rejected. Just, remember that you certainly are committed in this relationship and you're married. You can't just give up and be like, hey, I ain't gonna do this no more. It's not a part of the marriage game.
Well, I mean, something else too, we don't know her approach as
Yeah.
well. That has a lot to do with it. Timing and approach.
Yeah, and that's
Definitely does.
certainly a thing I think we can get into specifically for something for this lady when it comes to timing and how to fix that for sure.
Yeah. And so sexual intimacy is very important for a healthy marriage. So it connects you with your spouse on a deeper level, and you all are able to build trust and intimacy. So if you give up on initiating intimacy, you're missing out on one of the most important aspects of marriage.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that. So please don't take it personal when this happens. Rejection is often not about you. It's sometimes, your spouse may just be tired, stressed, or simply not in the mood. And in particular, this woman is experiencing one of the most common reasons, like you said, bad timing, because that's just plain and simple what this really boiled down to is bad timing. Because if one spouse initiates sex at a time where the other spouse is preoccupied with something else, you're kind of setting yourself up for rejection. I mean, unless your spouse is just, already giving you kind of hints and cues that they're ready to drop what they're doing to go have sex with you, it's kind of like you're, putting yourself in the situation to get rejected. So you really got to be mindful of the timing. And again, we're going to get into some tips of that later on, but I think it's important to, think about all the other reasons why this may happen. So then that way you're aware of what some contributing factors can be to why your spouse may be rejecting you. And again, this can go for men and women at the same time.
Yep. So if one spouse is feeling stressed, tired, or overwhelmed, they may be less likely in the mood for sex.
Yeah.
So even if they love and desire, even if they even love and desire their spouse.
Yeah.
So if one spouse is feeling insecure about their body or their relationship, they may be more likely to reject their spouse sexual advances as well.
That's one of the reasons. Yeah.
These are just reasons. So another one is simply not in the mood for sex. But the other spouse is. So this can lead to feelings of rejection and hurt, of course. So there's other reasons, just such as medical, chronic pain, depression, mental illness, anxiety, that make it difficult or even impossible to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
So certain medications, statins, antidepressants, birth control pills can also reduce sex drive.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough sleep, other things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes even past trauma, body issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, it's not you, it's the person,
Mm-hmm.
the other person that you're approaching. So you need to understand that as well. So don't take it so personal.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like I said, past traumas can cause insecurities about your body and can make you feel less likely to want to have sex. Relationship problems. So if there are problems in the relationship, such as conflict and communications issues, you're more likely to not want to also have sexual intimacy as well.
Yep. So also too, it is important to note that sexual rejection doesn't necessarily mean that there is a problem in the relationship. Like my husband said, it's a whole host of things that could be going on. So don't jump to conclusions and automatically think sexual rejection is happening because, your spouse, just is upset with you or something like that. That's not really always the case. But if sexual rejection is happening on a regular basis, it's important that you talk to your spouse and see what the underlying issue is that needs to be addressed. Because if something is continuously happening, then yeah, that's usually a deeper issue that may be going on. And that's certainly, we always talk about those core reasons, the core, getting down to the core issues of what's going on will certainly help you to address the real problem and not just the symptoms, right, of what's going on. So no matter the reason, be sure to talk to your spouse about, what's going on, how the rejection made you feel. Be sure to choose a time, though, when you're both calm and relaxed. Don't kind of like do it like this couple did right in the thick of y'all both upset, or one spouse is upset,
occupied or preoccupied doing something else.
Yeah, all of that. Well, you certainly can't talk about, what's going on in a time like that. You always want to, again, timing really matters even when it comes to having conversations, because the whole idea is any type of conversation and communication, the whole purpose of communication is for your spouse to be receptive of what you are saying or doing, not to reject you. So it's super big that you wait for a time where you're both calm and relaxed before having a conversation on something like this. You can start by telling your spouse, that you love them and that, hey, you're committed to the relationship, but the rejection made you feel ... Be sure to also address this when you know how it made you feel. You're not bottling up those emotions and trying to push it to the side. This counts for men too. Be honest about how the rejection has made you feel. So then that way your spouse can know, wow, I didn't mean to make you feel this way, especially if it's not intentional. That's a big thing to pay attention to.
Yeah. So listen to your spouse's perspective and try to understand why they're rejecting you.
Yeah.
So after finding out why they're rejecting you, see if there's anything that you can do to improve the situation in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So be sure to work together to resolve the issues. So this may involve making some changes to your relationship, such as improving communication or spending more time together, like I was stating before, or seeking professional help from a therapist or counselor or consultant if you just can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So for situations like this, where it's just bad timing, here are some tips for figuring out the best timing to initiate intimacy with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention to your spouse's body language, of course, and verbal cues. Are they relaxing and smiling? Are they making eye contact with you? Are they touching you or leaning towards you? Are they saying things that you like to hear that may be arousing? These are all signs that they are open to intimacy.
Yeah. And you really have to communicate also to your spouse your needs and your desires. It's okay to be verbal about, what you're feeling and like, hey, I'm in the mood for sex. That's totally a great thing to do. Sometimes your spouse may not even know that this is something you want to do, but you can be verbal about this. You can certainly be nonverbal about this too if you pay attention, to your spouse and seeing that they're not too busy for this. Or, this can be through text message as well. Like, hey, I'm in the mood for some hanky pankies tonight or something like that. That's the rated G way of saying it. But, that's certainly a way of letting your spouse know ahead of time that, hey, I'm interested in being intimate with you. And I just want to give you the heads up. So then that way, and you're not going to reject me because you know ahead of time. And maybe you can get yourself in the mood too, or your spouse.
So be mindful of your spouse's schedule and commitments. So don't
Yeah.
try to initiate sex when they're tired or stressed out or frustrated. Instead, try to find a time when you're both relaxed and have some free time.
Yeah.
So create a romantic atmosphere as well. So this could involve dimming lights, the whole rose petal thing, baths, massages, flowers, music, lighting, candles. So you can also give your spouse, like I said before, a massage or take them out to dinner or initiate foreplay throughout the day with conversations or subtle touching, etc. Y'all know what to do. It's called foreplay.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to doing that, especially when things have become so routine in the marriage and where life happens, right? You're super busy and you don't really have time to, do that little flirty stuff that maybe y'all used to do so much more of before, life happened, right? So, of course, avoid initiating sex too soon after a disagreement or an argument. Wait until you've both had the chance to cool down and to resolve the issue, because that will certainly lead to some, added drama if they're just already upset with you and not even interested in, sex, especially if that's not y'all thing to have sex. Some couples do that, right after an argument, that's their way of making up. So that's totally cool too. But if you know that ain't your thing and y'all don't already do that, certainly don't try to initiate sex during that time.
Don't try to initiate sex when you're both exhausted. I spoke about that before, being tired. It's better to wait until you both have energy. Wait until the morning.
Yeah. Of course, also be aware of your spouse's menstrual cycle. So this is big for women. Some women are not as aroused or experience a decrease in their sex drive during certain times of the month, or sometimes in the month. Also, you can pay attention to know that they're more likely to be interested in sex, especially around ovulation times and stuff like that. So if you pay attention to those times and the certain, phases of your spouse's cycle, then you're certainly more likely to get more positive responses if it's good timing.
Yep. Consider the time of day. So some people prefer to have sex in the morning, while others prefer to have sex at night. So be willing to compromise and find a time that works for both of you.
Yeah, and be okay with that. Don't make that personal. Again, relationships is all about compromise. So be okay with that. And of course, talk to your spouse about what you like and what you dislike when it comes to initiating sex. Certain things that you aren't too fond of and certain things that will help to create that sexual experience that is enjoyable for both of you. Have that conversation. Be open and honest. Again, this is an opportunity for growth and for change within the relationship if you're open to it.
The most important thing is to be open and honest when communicating with your spouse and be respectful of their needs and desires.
Yeah.
So if you're both on the same page, you'll be more likely to find the timing to initiate intimacy.
Yeah.
And then also too, you won't take it as personal and be frustrated and upset as well.
Yeah.
So remember, be patient and understanding. If your spouse is not in the mood for sex, don't take it personal. Simply try again another time.
Yeah.
Don't give up. So it's important to keep initiating intimacy, even if you experience rejection from time to time.
Yeah.
This shows your spouse that you love them and you desire them as well.
Yep, super important. Also, if you are struggling to deal with rejection and initiating intimacy with your spouse, it is really important that you consider talking to someone you trust, talking to a friend, a family member, a therapist, counselor, schedule consultation with us, someone that can help you to process your emotions and provide you with support and guidance on, how to work through this issue, and certainly how to develop some coping mechanisms so you're not just, wallowing in your own misery and upset about what's going on. That's no fun, and it's not going to help you progress within your relationship.
Yeah. So also make sure to practice self-care.
Yeah.
So make sure you are taking care of yourself both physically and emotionally. So this can include getting enough sleep, eating healthy, drinking your water, exercising regularly, and doing things that you enjoy as well.
Yeah. Those are all great things that I think will be really helpful for this couple, and just being, again, very patient, non-judgmental, not harsh on yourself. Don't, be so hard on yourself, although it can be, very easy to, but you are valid in the way that you're feeling. It is totally normal to have rejection, bring up a whole host of emotions, but, don't attach to them so much. Just allow yourself to feel it, process it, move forward. My husband always says, always just know, you're in the relationship, you're going to stay there, you're going to work it out.
Mhm.
So let that be the motivating factor for you to keep going and really keep working on building that intimacy. I think it's important that they too, like you said, figure out the other ways that he may want her to be spontaneous or whatever, or, just give her more specific not guidelines, but, direction maybe.
Right. Well, I mean, I think they just need a reset
Yeah.
from that moment to make her feel better. And then, like I said, to provide that additional input from him as well. So, like I said, if they
Yeah.
can go on a date night, do all that stuff they want to do, take that day out, no video games, nothing, just go out, enjoy yourselves, go out to eat, do something fun, come back and have more fun.
Yeah.
So I think that will best serve them and their relationship. That's all. Nothing personal.
Yeah.
Don't take it that personal.
Yeah, please don't, especially not in a relationship. It happens, man. Yeah, those video games, I tell you, that's why I said this is a good one, because we're living in a gaming world where, men and women love to game. And sometimes, your spouse may not be an avid gamer like you are. So it's an adjustment so that you're allowing them to enjoy the things that they enjoy doing and still being able to spend the time with them that you want to do too. This is going to take, effort. Assertive effort on both parts of how to make this work. And certainly, though, I think next time, this is good for him to know that next time, maybe be a little more honest about how long it may take to get off the game or whatever, if that, I don't know, I think about Call of Duty rounds. Sometimes your rounds are really long. So just knowing like, it's going to be a little longer than 15 minutes, boo. Don't be, or just being mindful that you're about to play. Let her know I'm playing the game right now,
Yeah. Or either just don't do that stuff while he's playing.
Right. Yes, certainly. Yeah. Bad timing, like you were saying,
Right.
Paying attention to timing. But I think that's a good one that we addressed. And generally, it's super simple for all couples to really be mindful of this. But that's pretty much all I can think of as far as advice. I did want to make sure that we tackled this because I think she may have gotten a little embarrassed.
Oh yeah,
took it off of Reddit quick.
Yeah, I understand.
But that's okay. This is, again, very common. So yeah, everything will be fine. It will work out. Stick in your marriage. Don't, give up. Marriage is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not something you just, drop the baton on. You got to keep going. You got to keep working at it and it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. Any questions for tonight? Because this was a kind of quick show. We were running a little late, but no questions. But in general, thank you, YouTube. Let me see. Facebook for joining us tonight.
Yep, we're finally over 500.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys.
YouTube subscribers. Thank you all. We have over 7,000 something on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you,
I don't know how
Instagram.
many on Facebook or whatever. I stopped taking stats, but we really appreciate the numbers. So please like and subscribe. And then also, too, if you can, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah. Yep. Keep growing with us as we continue to do this. We're certainly going to evolve the platform to have it, I guess the videos may have more, what are they called? Like people on their YouTube videos, they have like editing and stuff like that. We'll get to that point. Don't worry. We're still new in this game though, but.
Yeah. So until next time, Blueprint family, thank you all for joining us tonight. And we will see you all same time, same place tomorrow. Peace.
It's the music. Guess our music didn't work.
No, it's loading.